Welcome back to Soul Talk with Dr. Stephanie and Jessica. This is the space where we have honest conversations most of us were never taught how to have about healing, alignment, and the quiet wisdom that lives within all of us. I'm Dr. Stephanie Johnson. I'm a medical intuitive. I'm a mind body coach, doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and the creator of the Soul Wise Method. I'm here with my co-host, Jessica Hinder, who is an entrepreneur, a Reiki master, and a healer. Each week, we sit with the stories, beliefs, and patterns shaping our lives so you can reconnect with your truths and live from a place of deeper clarity, courage, and soul. In our last conversations, we've been starting to notice the language we use, the stories we carry, and even the patterns we inherit. And
That's right.
naturally, all of that's going to show up somewhere.
hmm That's
It,
right. And oftentimes, more likely than not, it shows up in our bodies.
so for a long time, I used to see symptoms the way most people do. It was something to fix. It was something to get rid of. It was something that, well, shouldn't be there, right? Even as a
Mhm.
practitioner, there was this subtle lens of how do I make this pain go away?
Right. And, over time with that eh, I feel that at least in our Western society, is that understanding of this is the problem. So we have to find the solution. We have to find the fix, right? But I said I could probably put money on the fact that you have some pretty solid patient stories about this. And I know for me personally, this topic is very, I should say, real for me because I have to credit it for chronic pain itself is for the reason I began this healing journey. But
And I think
I'll give
one of
it
the
to you.
things to remember is, what is the pain? What is our body trying to tell us about it? Because the symptoms aren't random, right? And I know for myself and for you as well, as you talk about your personal journey, when you say it's very real, it's a personal journey. And for
Mhm.
myself, it was also a very personal journey. And it started with a car accident. And it wasn't just one, it was actually a series of car accidents. The first one was in 1997. Nothing, huge, but it definitely tweaked my back. Had another little fender bender a couple years later. Then 6 years later, in 2003, I had another fender bender, which I thought was nothing. And it turned out to be horrific, to the point where I would be holding our baby daughter and my legs would just give out. Now, granted, I made sure she was safe. She didn't get hurt or anything, so don't worry about that. But what ended up happening is that I would end up in bed for days and sometimes a couple weeks, and nothing relieved it. I went to the chiropractor for a year and nothing, it didn't touch it. I finally, my doctor said, the orthopedist said, we need to do surgery. And at the time I was like, I'm too young. I have a baby who's 6 months old and I have a 3-year old. I am not having back surgery. There has to be another way. And that is what eventually led me to studying acupuncture. But it wasn't just that. I think the piece to really remember is, okay, I had this accident. So we can think that it's something that happened outside of ourselves, and this accident caused the pain. But really, when we step back and from, I call it more of that Chinese medicine acupuncture lens, what was really underneath of it, there was something else going on. And the reason I say this is because every single accident, all of them were fender benders. They weren't like a slam dunk, like smash and crash type of situation. But there was something that was going underneath. And what it was that my career path that I was had been on wasn't aligned for me. And in Chinese medicine, what I find fascinating is the lower back is deeply connected with what we call our Tao. It's our destiny, it's our life path. Like, what is your life path? What are you here to do? And
Wow.
I wasn't following mine. And so, what's fascinating is that as I started to move towards receiving the acupuncture and then deciding I was going to become an acupuncture, miraculously, um, I began to notice that the pain started to resolve. And that is when the moment, like everything in my life shifted because I had been focused so much on fixing my body as opposed to listening to what was my body trying to tell me. And what it was trying to tell me is, yo, hello, Stephanie, you are not aligned. You are not paying attention and you need to get into alignment. And just think about the back. The back is our structural piece. And if the back is out of alignment, you're going to be in pain. But not only that, when your life is out of alignment, then pain's going to show up. How cool is that? At least I think it's cool.
I mean, this is yes, as I said earlier, this is a passion of mine in the topic or in topics as far as topics go, because I completely see, that the little accidents, they were bumps in the road, and like quite literally bumps in the road, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, if you keep going on this path, you're going to keep bumping into something, right? And it's an excellent example, because where something shows up in our external world, physically, um, we may often, and I'm sure you did too with the first accident, being like, whoa, what the heck was that? Right? We don't immediately connect it to anything except for, well, that's why they're called accidents, right? They're
Yeah.
unplanned things that happen.
Right.
But, when one takes that moment, or I should say, in the if I shift it slightly, at the beginning of this tale is this: something happens, an event happens, and then stuff follows, right? As everything does. My biggest focus in my life growing up, or in dealing with those different types of, well, what ended up turning into chronic pain, was what the hospitals are very, very, it's like their favorite word, and this is no offense, but it's pain management, right? So
So
this term,
what was your journey as
what
well in sort of what was the chronic pain that you came to and then what were there any insights for you like as you went into that journey?
oh, 100%. It's obviously many journeys are layered, right? I Let me think about the biggest pain points and we'll go from there. It is when I was post pregnancy. So my son was maybe 2 years old or so. Yeah. I feel like it was 2016. He's born 2014. So 2016, I started having a lot of these, what somebody would consider fibromyalgic symptoms. There was tons of brain fog. There was terrible digestion. There was headaches. There was fatigue. All the things that are labeled currently, maybe one would even say probably it's a food allergy. This began the journey, of which took me through to finding out sensitivities with gluten, with dairy, with histamines as well. So it became really tricky. And through this can be a whole episode within itself, right? So I'm doing
Yes.
my best to try and pull out what's important here. So then once I removed those toxins, let's go ahead and say that, right? The body began to get better. Then my mother passed away, and I dealt with a whole lot, like, of grief, uh, pain, anger, resentment, sadness, grief, all the stuff on the lower the lower spectrum of emotional feelings.
Mhm.
And during that time, I got this test that said, you have a histamine sensitivity. And histamine, funny enough, through that I learned it's created. We create it in our bodies. Foods have it naturally. If you make a histamine-free meal or I should say, very low histamine meal, and you leave it out on the counter or in the fridge, it grows histamine on it. And this whole thing of like, holy crap, like I literally can't eat anything at all anymore. I went naturally into, of course, complete pain management. From there, it went into, and while I'm just trying to manage literally day to day without crashing on the floor, was this anger, this I was just mad. I was mad at my body. I was mad. I was at war with, I would shout out loud and just be like, what the hell am I even supposed to eat? What can I even eat? And I know, like, one of the things you and I bonded over, like, instantly was like, I mean, my mind blew when you were like, yep, can't have all those things too. And it was like, oh my God, like I'm not alone. Like you feel so alone being in a home where my husband, I love him to death. He is a perfect specimen of a working human. Mentally, all functions in his body, everything about it. So being able to live with a person who honestly, and it's not because he didn't want to, but he could not understand the suffering that I was going through, the pain that I was going through, right?
And
So
I think
all of that,
sometimes what we need to do is we have to like take that step back, right?
right?
And slow down
Mhm.
and go like, "Oh, I can see. Oh, yeah. This is actually connected to something deeper."
Right.
And so often, just your own experience going through that. And definitely, we're going to do an episode on the whole histamine piece because it's something that you and I both share that, neither of us can eat like hard. We have such a limited amount of food, but that's going to be another episode. Because
Yes.
really, what we're going to focus on today is the chronic pain and what is the body trying to tell us. And if we don't slow down, and begin to look at it from a deeper perspective, right? And this is where most people don't even realize that's an option.
Yeah.
And most of us just think it's something that's happening to us.
Mhm.
And until we take a deep breath and slow down, if we don't do that, then we just keep pushing through and we're going to
Mhm.
keep managing it. We're going to ignore things. And if we don't stop and ask ourselves, why is this all happening? Like, what is my body trying to communicate to me? Clearly, my body's trying to tell me something, not just when something's wrong, but like all the time, our body is trying to ask us, like, how do I get rid of this? And that's what I don't know, for so long, I know with you and our conversations, it's like, how do I fix this? How do I get rid
Mhm.
of this? How do I get this histamine response under control, right? Because it is an ongoing chronic condition. And instead of saying that, we need to start asking ourselves, what is this trying to show me? What message is my body sending me? And one of the things that I was thinking about, especially with all the food allergies, we'll call them allergies or histamine response, is why am I allergic to everything? And I think for me, it's really been a calling to say, oh, in order I'm on this spiritual journey, right? Like I'm on this huge spiritual journey. I want to raise my vibration. I want to be at the highest conscious level I can possibly be. And one of the things I'm in question about right now, and I don't know if this is the answer, is for me, all the inflammation in my body for me is how do I eat a really clean diet? Because when I eat a really clean diet, like I think about the yogis, like they are in such divine oneness, right? Now, can I live a whole life like a devoted yogi? Mm, I could, but I don't want to. So how do we master, and again, this is a whole nother tangent, probably for another conversation, is how do I master my own spiritual evolution in this modern day and age? And I think one of it is it's asking me to get super clean with what I put into my body and to be very conscious about it. So I think that so much of what we need to bring ourselves back to is what message is my body sending? And then how can that create a shift that takes us out of that resistance? And then we then are in partnership, hopefully with our body, as opposed to fighting against it.
Mhm.
And I just,
Yeah. And I think that that's exactly it. The resistance is the tension, right?
yeah, it's like,
And
oh,
chronic pain as it stands, for the most part, everybody's different and all of the things. But if you were to look it up, I don't know, on WebMD, like chronic pain is this tension or this tightness within our muscle structures, right? Like where the person says, I don't know. I work out, I stretch, I do the things of which someone would say this will help you. Uh, for me personally, that's what it was. It was that I felt it all through my back. Now it would change, it would move in different directions. It wasn't always in the same spot. But when I, again, also was continuing my spiritual studies and my spiritual just curiosity, I learned a lot of different I learned how to look at the pain through a lot of different lenses. And that's something that is really important as someone who does experience chronic pain, to be open to look at and not just say, well, the doctor doesn't know what it is, or the doctor says it's fibromyalgia, or the doctor says this is how it's going to be forever. We have free will. That's the whole thing about being alive. We have all these different options. Why on earth would we just think about it if on Netflix, well, first of all, there was only one streaming provider and there
service.
was only one show, right? You go nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, the plethora of options that we have is undeniable. Right?
Well, and I think what you just said, like, it's so important to see what lens are we looking at. And I believe so much, in particular, Western medicine is looking through it through a very, I'm going to say, a narrow lens, right? Because I
Mhm.
am a doctor of Chinese medicine. So the Western one is saying it's pain, we're going to give it medicine, and we're going to do this. They're not looking at what is the emotional piece, what's the spiritual piece that might be there. So in Chinese medicine, we've always understood that the emotions don't just live in our mind. They also move through our body and they move through specific systems. Actually, there in Chinese medicine, one of the theories is that excessive emotion can cause all sorts of different internal disease if it's not flowing in the proper order. And if it gets stuck in one particular, in Chinese medicine, a meridian, then it can't move. And if it gets stuck there, then it's going to create disease or illness. So, for instance, I think one of the things that I love about Chinese medicine is that it gives me a different paradigm and other lenses to look at it. So, for example, frustration and anger, it tends to live and move through the liver, for instance. Grief shows up in our lungs. And if you just think about grief, like think about blowing our nose connects to our lungs, right? And when we cry and we blow our nose because we're crying so much, the lungs are connected with the grief. Fear, interestingly enough, shows up and is connected with our kidneys. And then worry, overthinking, that looping pattern, the when the mind won't stop, like it's like all the thoughts over and over and over, that often lives in our spleen. So each organ system has a specific emotional component. Our heart deals with sadness and joy. And some people will ask me, well, what's the difference between grief and sadness? The way I like to describe it is that grief is it's a fuller expression, and sadness is it's a lack of joy in our heart, and it will show up as a lack of joy. And to me, that's sadness. And so it just gives a different way of thinking about how things show up. So, for example, if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I have pain in my right hip," I'm going to start asking them questions about, are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you irritated regularly? Because that particular area, that's where the liver and the gallbladder channels go that relate to anger and frustration. So it's just a
I just have to
beautiful map.
I got to stop you there because that's it just brought me right back to my bed. Literally, I didn't matter what I did. We got a new bed, we got a new mattress, I got different creams, I got a different pillow, I did yoga, I was doing it all. And this was during the time that my mom passed. And I had a lot, obviously, grief and but anger, because
Mm,
how dare she leave us so
oh,
early? How
yeah,
dare you leave me? There was all of this resentment and stuff, and it was my right hip. It did not matter. It was the hips, both sides, they'd go back and forth, and I was like, it's the mattress. It's the mattress. We need to fix it. And that's a natural thing. We will
right?
go through all of those. Is it something that did I twist it, when I was taking the groceries out of the car, right? We're going to really think about all those things that possibly within the obvious. And I believe that's incredibly important to do because we have to eliminate options, right? There's so many possibilities of why something is the way it is.
And I
And
want
I'm
to come
wondering,
back to like what
mhm,
you just said though, because you're like, oh, it's my bed. And we've been
yeah,
taught in this Western society, because well, we're in the US. So if you're listening, from other places, hopefully you have a much broader paradigm of
yeah,
life. But so many people, we've been taught to look at the external
that's right.
sources, right? And
Mhm.
external issues, external problems. So here, you're going to hear something that is also, I think, I just love this other sort of, I guess it's an analogy or an
Mhm.
example. I once had a patient who came in and she was really having a lot of foot pain. So, and I started asking her some questions. And where the foot pain was on the bottom of her foot. And in Chinese medicine, there on the very bottom of the foot, there's a kidney point that's right here. So, like every time you step down, you're hitting this kidney point. What does that mean? Okay, bear with me, stick with me,
Yeah.
okay? So she was trying to decide whether or not she wanted to leave her job, but she was terrified to leave because she didn't know if she would get the pay, if it would be the same level, but she was really afraid to take that leap because she'd been in this job for like over 20 years. So her foot, as she was going through this, she said, yeah, my foot started to hurt like when I first started my job search. And so I
Hmm.
said, huh, let's talk about your fear. So in Chinese medicine, when we're afraid to move forward, our body will be like, okay, my foot, your foot's going to start hurting. And then it's going to prevent
Mhm.
you literally from moving forward because it hurts. So until you
Absolutely.
make that connection, like, oh, I'm terrified of this, and we were able to, move through it and help her to get a little more courage so that she could do it. And she'd gone to the specialist, she'd gone to the podiatrist. There was nothing wrong with her, nothing wrong with her foot. But once she did some internal work and was able to move past the fear and transform that into courage, that pain in her foot stopped. So I
Mm.
think that's like the biggest thing about chronic pain is we can get so stuck, especially when it's lasted for so long. Like my chronic pain was for 6 years. And
Mm.
I mean, I was in some really dark places where I would pray at night, like, God, I don't want to wake up in the morning. Like if I die in my sleep, that would be great. Or God, can you just chop off my head? Like, and like, just let's call it quits, because it was
Mhm.
so intense. So I know what it's like to be stuck in the mindset of like, oh my God, like, how do I fix it? How do I get out of it? And that loop. And I recognize it's hard to get out of it. And so, what I tell people is that we don't have to go like this and make a change. You can just go a little bit, just a little tilt, and see if that makes a shift.
And I just wanted to pause there because that story, girl, same. And if that's the case, like it isn't like I'm going to end my life, right?
Right.
But it
No.
is
No.
like I don't, it would be okay if I
Right.
didn't wake up, right?
Yeah.
And I've been there exactly there. And I just thought, let's take a moment and honor all the people, not
Yeah.
just ourselves, because we are not alone in that. I know that.
And there are days that are like that when you have chronic pain. And I
And
guess part of the
yeah,
reason we're talking about this is to also offer hope that it does get better and that there is a light out there. And sometimes you just got to grab it. And, both of us have sat in that horrible, horrible, dark, 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 dark place, right?
I and I also have to just pardon for the interruption, but I have to applaud you too for praying. That is one of the things
Hmm.
we haven't talked about personally our religious beliefs or I know you're spiritual, I am. We are both in energy healing, so obviously, right? But the power, I think that I
Hmm.
mean, for the most part, people don't talk about the real true power of prayer. And, this is something that has rescued me literally from doing something terrible that I would absolutely regret in my life when I didn't know what to do, but I knew that the impulse to do that thing was really, really bad. So I just stopped and I just prayed. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed are we among women, blessed. And I went through that. And that's only because I have a background, being raised Catholic, right? So it's like it doesn't have to be. It can be completely non-denominational. It can be your own, please God, please whoever help me out, right? Knowing that there are services, calling that 1-800 number, calling somebody, calling a friend. It's like that power of prayer, if you don't have any of those other options, right? Or that seems like the quickest, I swear, if you do it with your true heart, it works. Please
And
believe.
I couldn't agree more. And for myself, I always say that I am not religious at all.
Mhm.
And it's too structured dogma for me. However, I am
Mhm.
very spiritual. And I absolutely believe, I don't know if it's a higher power, God. It doesn't, for me, what you call it, it can be God, spirit, source, Gaia. There
Universe.
is something greater that I feel that supports us in this universe. And for me, same. I have found in my darkest nights of immense pain and suffering, when I'm yelling, I'm cursing at God, I'm giving God the middle finger, I'm saying, Mother, blah, blah, blah. What sort of shit is this? Like, I like, if you are really God, like, then you need to help me right now. Like, and just having like those real raw emotional pieces and shouting and yelling at God because I being at that place of being so literally broken and surrendering and
Yep.
just sobbing and like and just feeling God's love surround me in those
Yep.
moments. Like, I mean, and just say, oh, there are the angels. There's my people. They got me. So it is this twofold approach. It is, how do you move through it and see it from a different perspective? But also know, like as we talked in our last episode, we have all of our ancestors here that are supporting us, who frankly, I don't know, I feel very blessed. I have a beautiful home. I'm very well provided for. And I know my ancestors did not have the same level of abundance. And yet in those moments, I can feel them in those darkest moments lift me up, and I can feel the angels, and I believe in the angels, and I believe in all of that. And I do feel that we need to talk more about that in life and in our society, and make it more normalized. And it doesn't have to come from this religious context, right? But the effort and the power of prayer in my life and what I've also observed in others is exponential in the healing process. So I would encourage you, as Jessica mentioned, there's lots of resources. If you ever feel suicidal, please, reach out to someone. Have a buddy when you are at your darkest moment. Who is your buddy you can call when you're in that deep, dark place of chronic pain? And reach out to, there's lots of prayer circles out there, and drop your name into a prayer circle and ask people to pray for you. Put your name in at the local church, even if you're not part of the local church. If you know somebody who goes to church, say, hey, can you put my name in and ask them to pray for me? Because I'm in a lot of pain. And you will, I promise you, you will experience miracles that you never expected. So with that, we can move on to like that got a
Yes,
little
that's
deep.
it. That was no, and I think it's important because I feel like most people find this, at least non-religious people find this to be completely tacky or, completely like, ugh, like this is not it. I don't believe in that. And I'm always speaking out about like, hey, y'all would be surprised at how much power there is in prayer. I mean, and that's the big thing, speaking about the chronic pain and about the breaking point and about the not wanting to wake up. Like my personal experience with that emotional weight in the body being shifted just slightly so I could catch a breath is the recognition that I was essentially not only taking on the heaviest load of being a first time mom, right? Without my parents, I lived overseas. So I didn't have my parents or a tribe with me. So I went through that. And then all of that emotion went into my body, created all of this heat and pain and tension. And it's this thing of recognizing that, like, this is why I'm feeling it. The aha moment was the recognition that I'm so alone. I am so alone doing this. My husband is out working, to support us. I don't have family around. I have a few friends, right? But like, they're not going to be the ones that are just going to carry you because I just moved there and or whatever. I didn't have a circle at that time. And it's this recognition of, wow, the feeling of isolation weighs just without it, even if you're in perfect health. Hello, and you feel isolated, other things are going to start building up. So once I recognized that was a big one, that power of prayer, somebody is listening, right? Mm-hmm. And then getting this understanding of, your spirit team. I never knew there was a team. I knew there was like maybe I always knew there was a guardian angel, but like that there's a whole team behind you. It no longer felt alone. I got a whole bunch. I got like a big chunk of that pain and I was able to hand it off. And that was the huge beginning of this healing journey, knowing that I'm not going through it alone and I don't have to talk to another doctor that's going to try and treat me symptomatically because this isn't it, right? Moving on.
And I think what you just said, you said that tension, all that unprocessed emotion gets stored in our body as a sensation. So often we'll think about chronic pain as a physical sensation, but it can also be the mental load as well. It can be the depression, the anxiety, the grief. And often that's dismissed, right? And yet that tension gets stored somewhere in the body. I actually remember a client of mine, and this is kind of to lighten the mood a little bit. Yeah. It's a kind of a funny story. She came in and she said she had a pain in her butt. And I was like, oh, you got a pain on your ass? Okay, what's going on? And as we were talking, she kept referring to her husband as a pain in the ass. So, yeah, sit with that for just a second.
Wonder where that came from.
There. Right. So the body's not random. So here she was, her husband's the pain in the ass. And when
Mhm.
I helped her to see that connection, she disappeared for like 9 months. And I'm like, oh, did I ever step my bounds?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
She came back 9 months later and she said, I've been doing a lot of work. I, after our last time being together, it made me really sit back and think about how much I criticize him, how much I blame him and say he's a pain in the ass. And it prompted us to go get some marriage counseling. And I can tell
Oh,
you right now, he's no longer a pain in the ass and my ass pain is gone. So
oh,
So that
yay.
pain went away once she recognized it and she did something about it. And she was able to reframe it and also reframe. And again, I know we keep alluding to, keep listening to us because we will talk about our internal dialogue and the words we speak and how they can create literal pain in the body. So it's not random. I
Mm-mm.
think the body is really intelligent. And the way I like to see it is there's a couple different ways to look at it. Either the body is the first warning system that something's going wrong with our mental, like the
Yeah.
way we're mentally thinking, or maybe our spiritual life, or
Mhm.
maybe something's going on and we're not really connected with our spiritual life. And then it gets into the mental level and then we keep overthinking it or not thinking about it. And it's like, well, dag, I got to go into the body because you didn't get it on the spirit level. You didn't get it on the mental level. Now I got to wake you up. So the only
Ah,
way I know how to wake you up is to make it hurt. And I've
yeah.
given you little twinges here and there, but you keep ignoring it. And now it's
Mhm.
become exacerbated into this big problem. So I like to think it's this really amazing, intelligent system to get us to wake up.
Oh yeah, totally. And it actually just brought this memory to my head that I'd like to share about it because I I feel like in our very stressful slash, and I don't like, perpetuating that story, but it is true, at least for right now. Like these overstressed, overburdened, overused lives that we just basically distract ourselves with social media, technology, whatever we choose to do. It's like we want so badly. We recognize how I have this picture of a balloon head, right, with a string on a body, right? We are so far away from our body when it comes to our current lives. And so it's like, how do we pull the string back down to attach the head to the body so we drop into the body? And I have I call it at nighttime, I do meditation because I'm laying in bed. I'm not a big sitter when I meditate. It's okay, guys. You don't have to sit, by the way. You can lay.
Lay down.
I know. I asked because I was like, I really want to strengthen my relationship with my body, like my conscious relationship to the physical body. And I asked my body, I think I was brushing my teeth or I was laying down, and I was like, I'd really like to improve my relationship with you. Like pop some, things into my head with if you want to, if you want to answer my questions, right? And so how can I strengthen my relationship with you? How can I become a better listener of what you are telling me? And I almost burst out laughing because the first thing that popped into my head was, why you ain't gonna listen anyway? So I don't even know why you asking. And I was like, oh my God.
I know you.
And then it just opened up this whole door of like, holy crap, you are right. I mean, clearly we know when we do certain things like eating too much sugar at night, or, like whatever, if it's a drinking too much or whatever your thing is, it's like, it. Your body has already programmed that information, but you are choosing free will as a conscious being not to follow along with it. And I could not help myself but be like, I am so glad you have a sense of humor, and also I'm so glad you have patience for me, and I am so glad that you are every single day doing the best that you can with the blah, 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 blah that is going up here, right? And you're doing your best just to follow along. We're just going through it. We're going to do what we can. And if you can think about it as this working, I don't even know, office, a floor in an office, right? Or it's an office building. Here's the executive floor, right? And then the rest down here are the whatever the plebeians, or I don't know what you call them, the other ones. Back in the day, somebody you told me it was a desk jockey, like, I don't know, however you want to say. But your little cells and all the things, they're all doing stuff all the time without you even noticing it. So
And I
big
think
one.
that's the thing to remember is that
Mm-hmm.
the cells are
Gratitude.
doing things even without you noticing it.
Yeah.
And what I often see is that if you keep ignoring all those
Yeah.
little hello, hello, or those little nudges, it
Mm-hmm.
will just keep building. And
Yep.
so when you actually stop and pay attention, it usually connects you to something that you haven't processed yet, right? Like
Yep.
some sort of emotion. So instead of the body being a problem or even the pain being a problem, like part of it is shifting our, and this is like kind of like you got to really stretch your mind here, okay? But instead of seeing pain as a problem, it actually is the messenger through the
Yep.
body, and it's trying to get your attention. And what most people want to do is they just want to keep fighting their body, right? They want to override it, they want to control it, they want to silence it. And what's that going to do? It's just going to create more tension. And when you actually shift into listening, then everything kind of softens a little bit. And the body then becomes something that you can actually work with. And it's not something that you necessarily need to fix. So if you back off trying to fix it and say, oh, we can work on this. Okay, this pain over here, what are you trying to tell me? So, one of the things I like to ask my questions is this: if your migraine could give you a message, what would it be?
Mm,
If your allergies could give you a message, what would it be? If your neck pain could give you a message, what would it be?
right.
So, like in Chinese medicine, if someone has like chronic neck pain, where are you being inflexible?
Mm-hmm.
How can you be more flexible in your ideas, your beliefs, what you're doing? So,
And mhm.
I
I was
think,
going to say, and
a
it's
lot of this
being
is about how do we actually then get into like what's the practical part of all of this?
right. And I think that just to bring those two things up is like, from the beginning, we started talking about pain management, right? Like we have this pain management. That's what we've been taught. Our parents, I'm hurting. This is how you fix it, right? Like this is the
Mhm.
thing. The doctor says this is a symptom and this is how you're going to help the symptom. It's pain management. But when we are so taxed out with our actual mental management of the pain, because the more you focus on it, we know anything where your attention goes,
Yeah.
where attention goes, no, where attention, how does it go?
What
Energy
is it?
flows.
Where your attention goes, energy flows.
Energy flows, correct, right? And this is true. So, a lot of us who have experienced or are experiencing chronic pain, we do a lot of retract. We don't want to focus on it because we don't want to grow that pain, right? So, we're
Hmm.
doing our best to manage that mentally. That takes a lot of energy too. It's like, so
Yeah.
once we can change the narrative of what it is by being curious, and then a big step to that is to enter into a state of receptivity of that information,
Mm.
right? Rather, even if it's something you don't want to hear, because I believe me, like I'm like, I don't want to hear that though. Ah, annoying.
And I
So I
think it
just
all
wanted to
starts
bring
with
that up.
awareness.
Yes.
And instead of the reaction. And I love what
Mm-hmm.
you just said. It's about creating this receptivity
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
pausing and then asking like, okay, what am I feeling right now?
Yep.
When did this all start? What
Mm-hmm.
was happening around me? What was I experiencing when all of this showed up in my life? Because
Mm-hmm.
that is going to give you the biggest clue to where perhaps the block is, where you're stuck, and why the chronic pain keeps exacerbating or isn't able to be resolved. It really is starting with the awareness and the receptivity.
Hmm. And then there's another big piece, and this has been a recent light bulb aha moment for me personally on my journey with the pain is recognizing the difference between pain and suffering, right? Because pain is a physical thing,
Mhm.
suffering is a choice. We can choose. Oh, this really sucks.
Yeah.
This hurts, a lot. And I go into that too sometimes. But a big one that really has recently helped me is when I catch myself either, trying to take my mind off the pain or trying to stretch it out, quote unquote, fix it. The next thing I do now is I just say to my body, I try and envision what the pain would look like, right? Whether it's a color, a shape, whatever it is, reason. Then I'll say to myself, pain, you're allowed to exist here. A big thing that we don't do is
Mm.
allow, right? You're allowed to exist here. And a lot of times, as of most recently in the last 6 months, it's been, for me, left side, down the shoulder situation, right? So I'll hold myself here and I'm just like, you are allowed. This is
Mm.
uncomfortable. It's not great. I'm not a huge fan, but I know that you're here to teach me something. Thank you. You are allowed to exist here.
Can
You
we
are safe
pause right there for a minute? Because
here.
that is so incredibly powerful.
Hmm.
That, like, I just have chills. Like, you are allowed to exist here.
Hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. You're allowed to exist here.
And I love you because you're here as a messenger of some sort. I don't maybe like the way I currently feel, but I am damn grateful that you are here. And I always add at the end, feel free to leave when you would like.
Perfect, right? But that's
Making sure the
so,
door is also
that's
open for
perfect.
you to
Feel free to
go.
leave when you like. Now would be a good time for you to leave.
But hey, I'll be a gracious host, as
Yeah.
you know, always.
I mean, look, can we figure out this partnership a little bit better, please? But isn't that it? It's like how can we be in partnership with the pain and you saying, I allow you to be here. We can coexist. But we
Yes.
got to work out some better rules.
Or just even a better communication system,
Yeah,
right? Whatever
right?
that happens to be. Like I want you, pain in my left back shoulder trapezoid area. I want you to know that I am attempting to understand your language.
Yeah.
So again, you are allowed here.
And on the flip side, I want to, of course, being the practitioner I am, I want to ask into what responsibility are you shouldering that's too heavy? What are you
Mm,
holding that's too heavy for you to shoulder?
yeah.
Where do you
I've been
get your
putting that down
support? Do
actually.
you feel like
Yep.
you have support? The upper back is about support. So for
Hmm.
me, those are questions I would ask. And those are some questions we all can ask ourselves.
Hmm.
What am I shouldering that's too much?
I'm
Oh, what
writing it
am I
down.
carrying that's too much? Because you got to use your arm, right? What am I carrying that's too much for me?
Hmm.
Where am I
Totally.
caretaking? Is it of
Yep.
others or am I not caretaking enough of myself? Or I need to shift the way I'm caretaking myself and others. So
Mm.
this gets me just thinking about so often I feel like we believe we have to do it all perfectly, and we don't. I think it begins with noticing the small moments.
Mhm.
And, like, oh, something feels off right now. Oh, I have a little tweak right there. Like, what's actually going on? And it's
Mhm.
that awareness first. And then over time, you can see your body hopefully in a different light. I
Mhm.
know for myself, if I'm not taking care of myself, and when I say not taking care of myself, what I mean is I'm not regularly eating, which is 3 meals a day. I'm not sleeping. I'm not getting my 8 hours. Maybe I'm working 4 hours. I say that I'm a recovering workaholic. I don't know if I'm really recovering because I really am a workaholic because I love what I do and oh, I just get so excited and that's what lights me up and I'm so passionate about it. Like I don't want to stop. However, I can overwork, which means I stay up too late because I have too many ideas. But what happens is that my body begins to respond almost
Yeah.
immediately. And what will happen is that I'll start like with a little headache here and maybe a headache back here. And then it will develop into a migraine if I don't
Hmm.
immediately act by eating or getting some water. And so I know that it's not random. I know it's my behavior. And these are the things that have led up to this pain. It's not that the migraine came out of nowhere. I have to look at what are my actions? How did I, create it? But what I've also learned is this, is that when I get migraines for myself, and if I get
Hmm.
especially my low back pain, which is my ongoing chronic condition through the years that I've learned how to manage, my low back is telling me not only if I'm out of alignment, now it tells me, yo, you got to slow down. You're doing too much. Like, come back to yourself,
Hmm.
slow down, stop all the busyness, and come on back.
That is so curious that I have, yeah, that to bring that up, that the pain then actually the message of evolves as well and changes, right? Because
Yeah, it's
before there
beautiful
was
when that
something else,
happens.
and now it's like, oh, but I'm getting a different message from that. I thought I cleared that already, you know?
But I also
Like
see that we all have, I'm going to say we all have sort of, I don't want to say chronic weak spots, but when we're out of balance or we're not
imbalances,
taking care of ourselves,
imbalances.
what?
Yeah. Hmm.
But it's an
The imbalance.
imbalance, right?
Yes.
And those
Hmm.
imbalances then get exacerbated. They grow out of proportion when we're not paying attention. So it's really about our body getting our attention to make us
Yeah.
notice before it gets to that point. It's not to hurt you. That's why maybe
Mm-mm.
you'll get like that little twinge in your shoulder. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, huh? It's trying to show me something. It's trying to tell me something before it gets into that.
That's right. That's exactly it. And I wouldn't be surprised that for a lot of people, this might be the first time they've even ever put the two together, chronic pain wise, right? To connect that, oh, I was never able to speak my truth or be my authentic self around the people I cared most about. I'm curious before we close out, if somebody was like that, where would that pain, as far as Chinese medicine go, where would that not pain even, what would that manifest as? Like if you were never able to be who you truly felt inside with your family or wherever.
The truth from a Chinese medical perspective is it really depends on the person.
Okay.
So it can show up in a multitude of different ways if you're not authentic. So one way, if it affected, say, your heart, you
Hmm.
might not feel comfortable, opening yourself up to be authentic, right? And instead you want to people please and you're happy and hi, how are you? And you keep on that smile all the time.
Hmm.
Or perhaps you are another area is like the earth element. And the earth element is that your mind just keeps going and going and going and going, and you're just questioning it all the time. What if? And you're worrying about, well, if I say that, what if this happens? Oh, if I do that, oh, what happens? Oh, I don't know. And the worry gets compounded that you don't ever speak, right? Or you could
Hmm.
just be anxious. And I know a lot of people, so anxiety can show up in a lot of different ways. And if you just are feeling uncomfortable, again, that can manifest and you're not showing up as your authentic self, right? And so I believe one of the biggest things that I love to tell people is, notice the little twinges in the body. Notice the little tweaks. And I am equally as guilty of this. You know, there'll be like a little knee pain, right? Or I'll just notice my back hurts a little bit. I'm like, I can push through this. I'll be fine. A great example. So I know that I have my chronic back issue, but I want to get in shape. I had hired this trainer. Now, I have gone through multiple trainers, and the same thing happens every time. They push me too hard, and my back gives out within the third day, and I'm in bed for 2 weeks.
Mm,
So the last trainer I hired to help me lift weights, he wanted to push me. And I'm like, oh, they're the expert. I'm like, no.
mm,
And this is what I want you to take away. You are the expert on your body.
mm,
You know your body. It's not to say not to push it, but I had to push back and say, no, that's too much weight for me. That's too many reps for me. If I do that, I'm not going to be able to sustain what you're trying to push me to do. I understand you think that's what I need, but I'm telling you, I've done it multiple times and my body's going to give out. So, really, you can go to doctors, you come to me as a practitioner, and sure, we have all this knowledge and expertise and clinical data to support us to help. And with that said, no one, no one knows your body the way you know your body. And you are the supreme expert on it. And never doubt that. You know exactly what you're experiencing. So don't allow someone to minimize what you're experiencing. And in the same breath, remain open to be receptive, as Jessica said earlier. Have a receptivity to look at it from a different perspective. Have an openness, especially if you've been on a really long journey and
mhm.
nothing else has worked. Be open to see other possibilities and look at your body as saying, if it was telling me something, eyes, what are you telling me? Mouth, what are you telling me? Hand, I have a pain. What are you telling me? Shoulder, what are you
Mhm.
telling me? What's the message? What do I need to hear? And I think if we come from that perspective, I think that hopefully every one of us can then find a place of healing and or at least find a place of ease in our body, right?
Or a place of where to begin,
Yeah.
right? Like a starting point. And when you were saying all that, I agree so much. And I would say, too, I'll list out just very quickly, maybe 3 different ways that new lenses, if you're interested, right? The number one, definitely, especially along the lines of the Chinese medicine, is your energy system, your chakras, right? Your chakras. So from crown down to root, and when they are out of balance, that can create a lot of issues within your life too, which can be chronic pain as well. So I would look at chakra situation. Reiki practitioners, for example, they know how to reset your energy system so it flows nicely. Another interesting that it's one of those cute little, I wonder, the left side of your body, generally speaking, is considered past issues. The right side of the body is present issues. So you could look at that, where it's resonating from. Is it the left or right? Does that work for you? Does that fit in what's going on for you? The other thing that I also really like is, some people believe that the left side of the body is your feminine side and the right side is the masculine side. Are you doing too much yang energy as far as your Chinese medicine, right? Too much doing and not enough resting. The right hand is the giver. The left hand is the receiver. So I often think about that because most of the stuff happens on the left side. And I think to myself, gosh, when's the last time somebody just randomly cared for me without me having to beg for it, and or not beg, but like, and or use the exact word, honey, or friend, could you please do this and this and this and this, which already you're maxed out. because you're already low, right? So there's a lot of different lenses that we can look at these at. And I'm a smorgasbord girl. I like to taste it all at a buffet. Here's my plate. I'm going to put a bit on everything. And clarity can come. Just be patient, and be open, really.
And so to piggyback on you, so definitely acupuncture, balancing out the meridians is wonderful for creating a nice flow in the body. And you can even work with someone who's also an acupressure practitioner. And so interestingly, in Chinese medicine, we view the feminine and masculine side as the exact opposite of like our Vedic or Reiki tradition. So in Chinese medicine, we view the right side as feminine and the left side as masculine. So why do I bring that up? Not to confuse you. It's to figure out and see what paradigm works for you. And I think that's
Yes.
the beauty of life, is that there are different paradigms and different perspectives, and be open to the one that resonates. They're not all going to resonate with you, but know what it is. And so in Chinese medicine, we'll say the right side is the feminine receptivity. So it's exact opposite what Jessica shared. However, that's her paradigm through Reiki and what she's learned also. And that's also the paradigm through, if you study Ayurvedic medicine, they will hold it in any sort of Hindu type of religion. They'll hold it that way. But the Chinese medicine will flip it and do it the other way. So I think that there's a lot of different pieces. Another piece that I just want to drop in, that if you are not familiar with it, is listening you can do sound healing and go to a sound healing bath to help balance it out. But you can also look on one of the streaming services for vibrational sound healing. And there's different types of sound healing. And I think we might do an episode on that. But there's some
Yeah.
different vibrational sounds that you can just
Mhm.
listen to passively that can help
Absolutely.
change your frequency. You can look up, like just say healing frequencies and see what pops up, or binaural beats. Again, we'll do another one that's more specific and give you all of the detail. But we're going to wrap up because our time is running
Yeah.
short now. And we're going to leave you
Mhm.
with this one question
Yeah.
today, maybe two. So this is your journal question today. What physical sensation have you been ignoring or managing,
Mhm.
and instead of actually listening to?
That's great.
And then what is
Instead
the
of,
message that that sensation has for you?
yes.
So if something in you was stirred today, just stay with that.
Yeah. Be curious, stay curious, stay open.
And remember, you don't have to figure it all out right away. Just start noticing, because that's where the real work begins. And keep listening to that wisdom that you have within you.
Hmm. Yes, that's true.
So, this is Soul Talk. Thank you, and we'll see
Thank
you
you so much.
again.
Yes. Check us out next week when we talk about blank.
Whatever we talk about next, stay tuned. We love you
Thank
all. Bye.
thank you.